Congresswoman, I was told we might have to wait for you for a few moments, but here you are, so let's start with you. And thank you for being with us here on the Hill. You just heard there from Allie. D.C. leadership has no clue. You are a congresswoman in Washington. You say what to that strategy that was just unveiled that Allie got her hands on first, and to what you heard from her there?
Well, look, the first thing that we need to do is focus on absolutely securing the border. And what we see from the Biden administration in recent weeks is new executive action, but it's not action that's actually going to stop the flow of people coming in illegally. So, we know that the policies that have been implemented with respect to parole and these alternatives to detention are not reviewing cases on a case-by-case basis. They're not ensuring that we know who the people are or that they're coming here and following through an orderly process in our courts, or most importantly, going back to remain in your country of origin or remain in Mexico before coming across. So until such time as we just stop this madness, get back to focus on controlling the points of entry, controlling and securing the border, things, I think at this point there's large bipartisan support for some of the concepts like building a wall and just putting an end to the lawlessness down there. So all of these other things really aren't going to get to the root of the problem.
I hear you outline it, and obviously you're no fan of the president, but, the reality is, Congresswoman, if we just step back here 3.5 years, the president instituted a policy, no doubt, that was more welcoming at the southern border. Here in Washington, Democrats and Republicans have got nothing done as it relates to the border. And that put the president to the point, both of those, to where he then had to take this executive action, and he did so, I would note, just a couple weeks before a debate. Isn't the reality, and I hear you on the president, but isn't the reality as well, Congresswoman, that Congress has failed?
Actually, no. And I would point out that I believe it's been about 400 days since the House of Representatives actually passed the Secure the Border Act, which was the most important.
You passed H.R. 2, so Republicans, Republicans passed H.R. 2. Democrats had their own thing. I know the back and forth, but at the end of the day, and this is an issue that's been talked about for decades, isn't it incumbent at this point in time when we see these stories now time and time again? My gosh, we are talking about a 12-year-old girl, Congresswoman. Isn't it incumbent upon Congress to come together and do something?
Well, let's be clear. Beginning 3.5 years ago, President Biden had a choice. And when he stopped building a wall and when he put an end to remain in Mexico, that is what led to the flood where we are now. So he has had tools and the ability. Border Patrol agents explained to us that 70% of the flow across the border would stop with just those two changes. That being said, you're right. Congressional action would take that absolutely out of the play of the executive agencies. So congressional action, absolutely. And Republicans have been working on this and pushing this and fighting for this throughout my entire tenure in Congress. So you're absolutely correct. These stories are tragic. One of them is too many. And this is exactly the consequence when we won't control and we won't enforce our own laws at the southern border.
Let me leave you with this. There's, for our audience who's watching us here, Congresswoman, on NewsNation or listening to us on SiriusXM, the reality is, and I think you would agree with this, that there's no coming together, no solution before the election and until we learn who the next president is, right?
Well, look, what I see is really too little too late. So President Biden now realizes how incredibly unpopular this catastrophe is touching every community in America. I think he now realizes that this is a bipartisan issue that Americans, regardless of their political party, political background, want to see this solved. So I think that's why we're seeing a change in course now. That's why we're seeing finally the White House try to engage and try to do what they can. So, I'll say Republicans stand ready, as we have. Since day one of this Congress, Republicans stand ready. And so, as soon as Democrats want to come along and support, H.R. 2 is still sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk. So it's ready to go as soon as the Senate will take action.
Congresswoman Laurel from the state of Florida, member of the Homeland Security Committee, I should add as well. Thanks for being back with us here on the Hill. Talk to you soon.
Always great to see you.